The sound of screeching tires against asphalt made Jack Vaughn wince as he watched the sleek silver Aston Martin attempt and spectacularly fail at parallel parking between two vehicles on the crowded downtown street. Jack shifted his 5-year-old daughter Emma higher on his hip. Her small arms wrapped around his neck as they both observed the luxury car's third unsuccessful attempt to fit into the space. "Daddy, I think that lady needs help," Emma said, her brown eyes wide with concern beneath her messy ponytails. Jack checked his watch. They had 20 minutes before Emma's kindergarten opened, and he still needed to drop her off before rushing to his construction job. Being late again could mean trouble with his foreman, but the frustrated driver was now sitting with her head against the steering wheel, and Jack couldn't just walk away. "You're right, Pumpkin. Let's go see if we can help." As they approached the car, the driver's window hummed down, revealing a woman with caramel-colored skin, sharp cheekbones, and intelligent eyes framed by stylish glasses. Her dark hair was pulled back in a sleek bun that screamed corporate success. Despite her obvious frustration, she managed a tired smile. "Excuse me," Jack said, leaning slightly to meet her gaze. "Would you like some help?" The woman's shoulders sagged with relief. "Is it that obvious I'm terrible at this?" "Just a little," Jack replied with a warm smile. "I'm Jack, and this is my daughter Emma." "Hi," Emma waved enthusiastically. "I'm Francesca Alvarez," the woman replied, her smile widening at Emma's greeting. "And yes, I would absolutely love some help. I'm already late for a meeting, and parking in this city is a nightmare." Jack set Emma down on the sidewalk. "Stay right here where I can see you, okay? I'm going to help the nice lady park her car." Emma nodded solemnly, clutching her worn teddy bear as she stood against the storefront. Francesca stepped out of the car, and Jack tried not to notice how her tailored suit perfectly complemented her figure, or how she smelled faintly of something expensive and floral. He was acutely aware of his worn jeans and the construction company logo on his t-shirt. "I don't usually drive this car," she explained. "It's new and I'm still getting used to it." "It's a beauty," Jack said, sliding into the driver's seat that was still warm from her body. "The leather interior probably cost more than his monthly rent. Just watch how I do it, okay?" It's all about angles and knowing when to turn. He smoothly reversed, cut the wheel at precisely the right moment, and glided the luxury vehicle perfectly into the spot with just inches to spare on either side. When he stepped out, Francesca was staring at him with undisguised admiration. "That was impressive," she said, taking the keys he offered. "Where did you learn to park like that?" "I grew up in the city," Jack said with a shrug. "Tight parking spots are just part of life here." Emma tugged at his hand. "Daddy's school?" "Right," Jack said, suddenly remembering the time. "We need to get going." Francesca glanced at her watch, a timepiece that probably cost as much as Jack's car, and bit her lip. "I wish I could properly thank you, but I'm running late for a board meeting." "No thanks needed," Jack replied, "just paying it forward." She hesitated, then reached into her purse and pulled out a business card. "Take this, at least. Francesca Alvarez, CEO of Alvarez Innovations." Jack accepted the card, noting the embossed logo and heavy cardstock. "A CEO, of course. Maybe I can buy you coffee sometime." She suggested, then quickly added, "Both of you, I mean, as a thank you." Before Jack could respond, Emma jumped in. "Daddy loves coffee. He drinks it every morning." Jack felt his cheeks warm. "That's very kind, but unnecessary." "I insist," Francesca said, her eyes meeting his with an intensity that made his pulse quicken. "Call me." With that, she hurried away, her heels clicking on the pavement as she disappeared around the corner. Jack stared at the business card in his hand. CEOs of multi-million-dollar tech companies didn't have coffee with struggling construction workers who could barely make rent. He tucked the card into his pocket, certain he would never use it, and took Emma's hand. "Come on, Pumpkin, we can't be late for school." That evening, after picking up Emma from after-school care and heating up macaroni and cheese for dinner, Jack found himself pulling Francesca's card from his pocket while Emma watched cartoons. Alvarez Innovations was a major tech company that specialized in sustainable energy solutions. He'd seen their name in the news. They were doing revolutionary work. Jack's phone buzzed with a text from his ex-wife, reminding him that child support was due. He sighed, looking around the small two-bedroom apartment they called home. The furniture was secondhand, the walls needed paint, and he'd been putting off replacing Emma's outgrown clothes because his last paycheck had gone to car repairs. His construction job paid the bills barely, but he'd once had dreams of becoming an architect. Those dreams had been shelved when Emma came along and her mother left when she was just a year old. He didn't regret a minute spent raising his daughter, but sometimes he wondered about the roads not taken. The business card seemed to mock him. Jack was about to toss it in the trash when his phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello, Jack, it's Francesca Alvarez. From this morning," he nearly dropped the phone. "How did you get my number?" There was a brief pause. "Your construction company logo was on your shirt." "I hope you don't mind that I called them and asked for you. Was that too forward?" It was absolutely too forward, and yet he found himself smiling. "A little stalker-ish, but I'll let it slide." Her laugh was warm and genuine. "I realized after we parted that I didn't give you a chance to say yes to my coffee offer. Are you free this weekend? You and Emma, of course." Jack hesitated. "Look, Miss Alvarez, Francesca, please." "Francesca." "I appreciate the offer, but I don't think—" "Jack," she interrupted gently, "it's just coffee. As a thank you, no strings attached." He looked at Emma, happily watching her show, unaware of how hard he worked to keep their little world afloat. Maybe a little normalcy, a coffee with a new friend, wouldn't be the worst thing. Saturday morning, he found himself saying, "There's a place near the playground that Emma loves." "Perfect," Francesca replied, and he could hear the smile in her voice. "Text me the address. See you both at 10. After hanging up, Jack wondered what he'd just gotten himself into. Saturday morning arrived with clear skies and unseasonably warm weather. Jack dressed Emma in her least worn jeans and a t-shirt with only one tiny stain that he hoped wouldn't be noticeable. He pulled on his own best pair of jeans and a button-down shirt that his sister had given him for Christmas. "Are we meeting your friend, Daddy?" Emma asked as they walked to the neighborhood coffee shop. "Yes, Pumpkin, the lady with the fancy car. She wanted to say thank you for helping her park." "Is she your girlfriend?" Emma asked with the blunt curiosity only a 5-year-old could muster. Jack nearly tripped over his own feet. "No, she's just someone we helped, that's all." Emma nodded sagely. "Grandma says you need a girlfriend." Jack made a mental note to have a word with his mother about discussing his love life in front of his daughter. Grandma needs to mind her own business. They arrived at the coffee shop 10 minutes early. Jack chose a table near the window where they could see the playground across the street. He was just helping Emma color a paper placemat when the door chimed. Francesca walked in wearing jeans and a casual blouse, her hair loose around her shoulders. Without her power suit and with her face free of makeup, she looked younger and somehow more approachable. But she was still stunning in a way that made several patrons turn to look. She spotted them and smiled, weaving between tables to reach them. "Good morning. I hope I'm not late." "You're right on time," Jack said, standing awkwardly. "This is a bit different from your board meetings, I imagine." "Thankfully," she laughed, then knelt to Emma's eye level. "Hello again, Emma. I like your bear." Emma clutched her teddy closer. "His name is Mr. Cuddles. He's 5 like me." "That's a very distinguished age," Francesca said seriously, which made Emma beam. "What would Mr. Cuddles like to drink? Hot chocolate, perhaps?" "Yes, please, with whipped cream." Jack started to object. Treats like that weren't in his regular budget, but Francesca was already nodding. "Whipped cream is essential, and for you, Jack, just black coffee," he said. She looked horrified. "Just black coffee? On a Saturday morning? That won't do at all." Before he could protest, she was at the counter ordering. She returned with a tray laden with not just drinks but an assortment of pastries that made Emma's eyes widen with delight. "You didn't have to do all this," Jack said quietly as Emma carefully selected a chocolate croissant. "I wanted to," Francesca replied, sliding a large latte toward him. "Caramel latte with an extra shot. Take a chance on something sweet for once." Their fingers brushed as he accepted the drink, and an unexpected current passed between them. Jack quickly withdrew his hand, focusing intently on the latte. "So," Francesca said, sipping her own drink, "tell me about yourselves. What do you do when you're not rescuing helpless CEOs from parking disasters?" Jack smiled despite himself. Not much to tell. I work construction during the week. Weekends are for Emma parks, libraries, museum-free days when we can get them. And Emma, what's your favorite thing to do with your dad? Francesca asked. Building forts, Emma exclaimed through a mouthful of kwasa. Daddy makes the best blanket forts ever, and he reads me stories with all the voices. All the voices. That sounds impressive, Francesca said, her eyes twinkling as she glanced at Jack. It's not Broadway material, Jack admitted, but I do a decent gruffalo. The conversation flowed easily after that. Jack learned that Francesca had built her company from the ground up after developing a revolutionary solar panel design in graduate school. She'd grown up in a middle-class family and worked her way through college with scholarships and 3 jobs. People see the success but not the struggle, she said, absently stirring her coffee. Sometimes I feel like I'm still that same broke student, just with better clothes. Jack understood that feeling all too well. Do you like it? Running a big company, she considered the question. Parts of it. The innovation, seeing ideas become reality, knowing our work is making a difference for the environment. But the meetings, the politics, the constant pressure. Sometimes I miss just being in a lab creating things. Emma, growing restless, pointed to the playground. Daddy, can we go play? Jack checked the time. Sure, pumpkin. 10 minutes, okay? They gathered their things and crossed to the small playground. Emma immediately raced for the swings and Jack automatically moved to push her. Higher, Daddy, I want to touch the sky. Francesca watched them, something wistful in her expression. She's wonderful, Jack. You're doing an amazing job with her. Thanks, he said, continuing to push the swing. It hasn't always been easy, but she's worth every second, her mother. Francesca began tentatively. Left when Emma was a year old, Jack said, keeping his voice neutral. Decided parenting wasn't for her. She sends birthday cards sometimes. Francesca nodded, not offering pity, which he appreciated. My parents divorced when I was 12. My dad was the one who left. It was hard, but my mom was incredible, worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. That sounds familiar, Jack said with a small smile. They fell into a comfortable silence, watching Emma swing higher and higher, her delighted giggles filling the air. You know, Francesca said finally, I have tickets to the Children's Science Museum next weekend. Their new dinosaur exhibit is supposed to be amazing. Emma might like it, if you're free, that is. Jack hesitated. This was starting to feel like more than a thank you coffee. Francesca, just as friends, she said quickly. I hardly ever use the fun perks that come with my position. It would be nice to share them with someone who would appreciate them. The hopeful look in her eyes was hard to resist, and Jack couldn't deny that Emma would love the dinosaur exhibit. Okay, he found himself saying, but let me treat you to lunch afterward. I can't let you do all the giving here. Her smile was worth any financial strain lunch might cause. It's a deal. The Science Museum date, though Jack was careful not to call it that, even in his thoughts, was a revelation. Watching Francesca with Emma, patiently explaining exhibits and expressing genuine wonder at the same discoveries that delighted his daughter, Jack felt something shift inside him. Francesca wasn't just humoring Emma. She was engaged, asking questions, her enthusiasm matching the child's as they examined fossils and created miniature volcanoes. When Emma tugged both their hands to hurry them toward the next exhibit, the 3 of them looked, just for a moment, like a family. The thought terrified Jack. Over lunch at a modest diner that Jack could actually afford, Emma chatted excitedly about everything they'd seen while coloring the kids' menu. Did you know T-Rexes had feathers, Daddy? They weren't scaly like in the movies. Frankie showed me. Jack raised an eyebrow at Francesca. Frankie, she shrugged, looking slightly embarrassed. We decided Francesca was too many syllables while we were examining the velociraptor skeleton. Frankie knows everything about dinosaurs, Emma continued. She's smart like you, Daddy, Jack snorted. I barely finished community college, pumpkin. Frankie has fancy degrees. But you know how to build things, Francesca interjected. You understand structural integrity and spatial relations in a way I never could. Different kinds of intelligence are equally valuable. Their eyes met across the table, and Jack was struck by how genuine she was. In his experience, people with money and status rarely acknowledged the skills and intelligence of those they considered beneath them. "Daddy wanted to be an architect," Emma announced, not looking up from her coloring. "He told Grandma." Jack felt his face heat. "That was a long time ago, Emma." Francesca tilted her head. "Why didn't you pursue it?" He shrugged, uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "Life happened. Emma came along, her mom left, bills needed paying, dreams got put on hold." "Put on hold doesn't mean abandoned," Francesca said softly. "There are night programs, online courses. Some of us have to be practical," Jack interrupted, more sharply than he intended. "I have a responsibility to Emma. I can't just chase dreams when I have bills to pay." Francesca's face fell, and Jack immediately regretted his tone. "I'm sorry," he said. "That came out wrong. It's just complicated." "I understand," she said, though her eyes said she wasn't giving up on the subject. "For what it's worth, I think you'd make an excellent architect." The conversation moved to safer topics, but as they were leaving the diner, Francesca pulled Jack aside while Emma examined a gumball machine. "I've enjoyed spending time with you both," she said, "and I'd like to do it again if you're willing." Jack looked at her carefully. "Why? Why what?" "Why us? You could spend your weekends with anyone, other executives, celebrities, whoever. Why choose to spend time with a construction worker and his kindergartner?" Francesca didn't hesitate. "Because when I'm with you and Emma, I don't feel like a CEO or an heiress or whatever label people want to put on me. I feel like myself. Do you know how rare that is in my world?" Her honesty disarmed him. "I can imagine." "So," she said, a hint of vulnerability in her voice, "can we do this again sometime?" Jack looked at Emma, happily counting the colors of gumballs, then back to Francesca's hopeful expression. Against his better judgment, he nodded. "Yeah, we'd like that." Over the next few months, weekend outings became a regular occurrence. They visited parks, attended a children's theater production, went to the zoo, and even spent a day at the beach. Each time, Jack tried to contribute what he could, packing lunches, buying ice cream, insisting on paying for small things, but he couldn't match Francesca's resources. What surprised him most was how little that seemed to matter to her. She never made him feel less for having less. Instead, she valued his perspective, asked his opinion, and treated him as an equal in every way. One Sunday evening, after a day at a harvest festival where Emma had picked apples and navigated a corn maze, Jack invited Francesca to stay for dinner, a simple meal of spaghetti and garlic bread that he could actually cook well. As Emma set the table, carefully placing forks and napkins, Francesca leaned against the kitchen counter watching Jack stir the sauce. "You know," she said quietly, "I've been thinking about what you said about architecture." Jack tensed. "Francesca, just hear me out," she said, touching his arm lightly. "My company has a scholarship program for employees wanting to further their education. We also have a tremendous need for people who understand both construction and design." He put down the spoon and turned to face her. "Are you offering me a job?" "Not exactly," she said. "I'm offering you an opportunity. A junior position in our development department with flexible hours and tuition assistance to complete your architecture degree." Jack stared at her, stunned. "Is this why you've been spending time with us?" "To recruit me," hurt flashed in her eyes. "Of course not. I'm offering because I care about you, Jack, because I've seen how your eyes light up when you talk about design, because Emma deserves a father who follows his dreams as well as provides for her." "I can't accept charity," he said stiffly. "It's not charity," Francesca insisted. "It's an investment. You have talent and drive, Jack. My company would benefit from having someone like you." Before he could respond, Emma called from the dining area. "Dinner's ready. Come see how pretty I made the table." The conversation was shelved as they moved to admire Emma's table-setting efforts. Throughout dinner, Jack remained quiet, processing Francesca's offer while Emma chattered about the day's adventures. After Emma was tucked in bed with Mr. Cuddles and 3 bedtime stories, Jack found Francesca sitting on his small balcony, looking at the city lights. "I'm sorry if I overstepped," she said as he joined her. "I just thought, why are you really doing this?" Jack interrupted. "The truth, Francesca." She turned to face him, her expression open and vulnerable in the soft glow from the living room lamps. "Because I'm falling in love with you, Jack Vaughn, with both of you, and it terrifies me. The confession hung in the air between them. Jack had suspected his own feelings were growing deeper, but he'd convinced himself Francesca couldn't possibly feel the same. The money, the success, none of it means anything if I don't have people to share it with who see me for who I really am, she continued when he didn't speak. You and Emma, you make me feel whole in a way I never have before. Jack reached out, taking her hand in his. I've been fighting this for months, he admitted. Telling myself someone like you couldn't possibly want someone like me. Someone like you, she repeated, moving closer. You mean someone kind, dedicated, talented, and with the most beautiful heart I've ever known. Why wouldn't I want that? When he finally kissed her, it felt like coming home to a place he'd never been before. Her hands came up to frame his face, and he pulled her closer, all his doubts momentarily silenced by the rightness of holding her. When they broke apart, Francesca rested her forehead against his. I'm not offering you the job because I have feelings for you, she whispered. I'm offering because you deserve a chance to fulfill your potential. The two things are separate in my mind, even if they happened at the same time. Jack nodded, finally understanding. I need to think about it, not just for me but for Emma. Of course, she said. Take all the time you need. The next morning, Jack dropped Emma at school and headed to his construction site, his mind still spinning with Francesca's confession and offer. As he worked, securing beams and checking measurements, he found himself studying the building's design with new eyes. At lunch, he pulled out his phone and researched the architecture program at the local university. It would take 3 years of night classes to complete his degree, working around his job and Emma's schedule. It seemed impossible, and yet. That evening, he sat Emma down for a serious talk. Pumpkin, how would you feel if Daddy went back to school? I'd still be here for you, but I might need to study sometimes in the evenings. Emma considered this gravely. Would you still read me stories? Every night, he promised. Nothing would change that. Then it's okay, she decided. Frankie can help you with homework. She's really smart. Jack smiled at his daughter's simple solution. Speaking of Frankie, how would you feel if she was around more often? Like a lot more often, Emma's face lit up. Does that mean she's your girlfriend now? Well, we're still figuring that out, but I think maybe, yeah. Emma launched herself into his arms. Good, I told Mr. Cuddles you liked her. He said you should kiss her like in the movies. Jack laughed, hugging his daughter close. Mr. Cuddles is pretty smart too, huh? The next day, Jack called Francesca and asked to meet at the coffee shop where they'd had their first not-quite date. When she arrived, her face was carefully composed, as if she was preparing herself for rejection. I've been thinking about your offer, Jack said once they were seated with their drinks. Both of them. Francesca nodded, her hands wrapped around her mug. And, the job offer, I appreciate it more than I can say, but I need to do this my way, he said firmly. I've applied to the architecture program at City College. I'm going to keep my construction job for now, take classes at night. It'll take longer, but I need to earn this myself. Disappointment flickered across her face, but she nodded. I understand. I respect that, Jack. But, he continued, reaching across the table to take her hand. As for the other offer, the one where you said you were falling in love with us, I'd very much like to accept that one, if it's still on the table. Her eyes widened, a smile breaking across her face like sunrise. It's definitely still on the table. Good, Jack said, squeezing her hand, because Emma and I are pretty crazy about you too. 1 year later, Jack sat at the kitchen table in a new apartment, larger, brighter, but still modest, sketching building designs for a class project, while Emma and Francesca made cookies in the kitchen. He'd insisted on paying the rent himself, though Francesca had moved in 3 months ago, bringing warmth and light into their lives in ways Jack hadn't known were missing. He was maintaining a 4.0 GPA in his night classes, and his foreman had promoted him to project manager after seeing his emerging skills. It wasn't easy. There were late nights of studying after Emma was asleep, mornings when he could barely keep his eyes open at the construction site, but watching his dreams slowly become reality was worth every struggle. Daddy, look, Emma called, holding up a misshapen cookie. It's a dinosaur. That's amazing, Pumpkin, Jack said, setting aside his drawings to admire her work. Francesca watched them both with flower on her cheek and love in her eyes. She'd respected Jack's need to make his own way, supporting him without overstepping, loving them both with a steadiness that had healed parts of Jack he hadn't realized were broken. Later that night, after Emma was asleep, Jack and Francesca sat on the balcony, looking at the same city lights they'd seen the night they first confessed their feelings. "I have something for you," Francesca said, pulling a small box from her pocket. "An anniversary gift." Jack took the box, raising an eyebrow. "Our anniversary isn't for 2 more weeks. This is a different anniversary," she explained. "It's been exactly 1 year since you helped me park my car." Jack laughed, opening the box to find a key. "What's this?" "A key to our future," Francesca said. "I bought a piece of land upstate. I thought maybe when you finish your degree you might want to design our home there, a place for the 3 of us with room to grow." Jack looked at the key, emotion tightening his throat. "You want me to design our home? Who better?" She said, leaning into his side. "You've already built our family, the house is just details." Jack pulled her close, overwhelmed by how far they'd come. From a chance meeting on a city street to building a life together, it had been an unlikely journey. "I love you," he said simply. Both the CEO and the woman who still can't parallel park to save her life. Francesca laughed, the sound mingling with the city noises below. "And I love you both, the architect you're becoming and the father who helped me understand what really matters." As they sat together planning their future, Jack thought about how sometimes the greatest journeys begin with the smallest moments, like helping someone park a car, not knowing they'd soon park in your heart instead.